The southern Ukrainian city of Zaporizhia. Reports say at least one person has been killed and 25 others are wounded, including children. Another dimension to anti-judicial reform protests in Israel, hundreds of Israeli women calling themselves grandmothers for democracy protest in Tel Aviv, saying the government was undermining democracy. French President Emmanuel Macron says that he wants pension reforms implemented by the end of the year. This even as protests continue over the legislation being bulldozed through Parliament. '14 World Cup winner Mesut Ozil announces his immediate retirement from professional football. The German played with distinction for Real Madrid and Arsenal over a 17-year-long professional career. The indictment hearing against former U.S. President Donald Trump for a second day is set to start shortly. Barricades have been set up near Trump Tower, and scores of journalists have been camped outside the prosecutor's office and the courthouse. New York police have tightened security ahead of this possible indictment over hush money paid to a porn star. The timing, however, remains uncertain. Prosecutors have signaled that they're preparing to charge the former president for covering up payments worth $130,000 as legal fees. Meanwhile, Trump's supporters and porn star Stormy Daniels have been busy trolling one another on social media. Stormy Daniels claims that she had an affair with Donald Trump. She claims that the former U.S. president gave her $130,000 before the 2016 elections to not discuss the encounter. President Trump, however, has maintained that nothing of that sort ever happened, and in 2018 told reporters he knows nothing about any payments made. If an indictment is filed, the 76-year-old Republican presidential 2024 candidate would become the first former or sitting president to be charged with a crime. The possible indictment would also send shockwaves through the 2024 White House race. Police have geared up for an arrest or self-surrender, which would see an ex-leader of the U.S. booked, fingerprinted, and even possibly handcuffed. Trump and many Republicans have been citing all of this as a political witch hunt, saying it's an attempt to take down the leading candidate in the Republican Party. Trump's former lawyer turned enemy, Michael Cohen, who has testified before the grand jury, told Congress in 2019 that he made the payment on Trump's behalf. The payment to Daniels, if not properly accounted for, could result in a misdemeanor charge for falsifying business records. That might be raised to a felony if the false account was intended to cover up a second crime, such as campaign finance violations. In the United States, campaign finance violations is punishable by up to 4 years behind bars. Legal experts say, however, the argument would be very difficult to prove in court, and any jail time is far from certain. An indictment would begin a lengthy process that could last months, as the case would face legal hurdles and move toward jury selection. Trump is facing multiple other legal challenges and investigations. Cases include his handling of classified documents and his alleged efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential elections. Okay, for more on this, we are joined by Nicole Brenner-Schmidt, political analyst and commentator. She's joining us live from Washington, D.C. Nicole, welcome to WION, and thank you so much for joining us this morning. So Republicans and some Democrats actually are very concerned that this wasn't the right path to take on the part of Alvin Bragg in trying to indict Donald Trump for what is essentially a misdemeanor charge that Bragg tries to resurrect out of the blue, foregoing statute of limitation issues and bringing this to the forefront all of a sudden. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there are a lot of concerns about it. There are Democrats who have concerns because they think that some of the other things that you mentioned, his clear coordination with people to try to overturn the results of the 2020 election and this classified documents are much more serious, and that this is taking away from that and feeding into a narrative that the Republicans are putting out there that this is a witch hunt, which, is not something that the Democrats believe is true. They do think that this payoff happened. It's clear the grand jury is likely going to go forward with an indictment, but that these other things are more serious and what the focus should be on.
And can you talk about how this might affect the former president ultimately, if an indictment ultimately is issued, not maybe today, but in the next week? Some say that it would actually help him if he, moves forward. After all, Donald Trump, for lack of a better word, performs best when he has his back to the wall.
Right. There's a lot of people that think this gives him an opportunity to have his bravado. We saw him go on TV last week and say, they're coming for you. They're just, I'm in their way, which, what they're coming for the American people on, if they're paying off former lovers, is a mystery to the Democrats. But he's making it clear that he's going to make himself sort of this martyr. And, he famously had a quote that he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and his people would still love him. And thus far, that's held up with a base of the Republican Party. So what we're looking at here is a Republican Party that is having an internal struggle right now of where are they going to fall. And we're seeing a lot of the congressional leaders, while they clearly prefer not to talk about it, ultimately are endorsing him. We've seen a couple go with DeSantis. This is an internal dilemma for their party that they are going to have to decide, do they draw a line somewhere and do they start to lift up other leaders? I mean, we saw every Secretary of State candidate the Republicans had that was an election denier lose in 2022. I mean, yes, they seem to think they need to do this in their base to win primaries, but it's not helping them win generals. So the Republicans got to decide, where are they going as a party and who are they going to have be their leader?
Yeah, very interesting, very well said. A nuanced point, definitely. And I think it was very interesting that he did call for protests, and we have not seen that kind of mass protest, at least from his supporters downtown in Manhattan, at least not for now. Nicole Brenner-Schmidt, thank you so much for joining us on WION, and I do look forward to speaking to you again very soon.
Thank you so much.
The International Monetary Fund has reached an agreement with Ukraine for $15.6 billion as funding for the war. This will be the organization's first ever direct funding of the war. IMF Executive Board is expected to clear the approval in the coming weeks. The agreement also takes into consideration Ukraine's path to accession to the European Union after the war. According to IMF, the aim of the program is to sustain economic and financial stability and restore debt sustainability. Calculations were made earlier regarding Ukraine's restoration in the post-war period, and numbers are reported to run into hundreds of billions of dollars. Ukrainian Prime Minister hailed the agreement, and U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen welcomed the deal after months of pushing for the IMF to move forward with a new financing package for Ukraine. The U.S. is the IMF's largest shareholder and the biggest contributor to Ukraine in terms of money spent. Money has continued to pour into the conflict from all over the world since Russia's invasion of Ukraine last February.
Есть кто живой?
North Korea keeps up an offensive amid joint military drills by South Korea and the U.S. in the region in a record-breaking year of weapons tests and growing nuclear threats from Pyongyang. South Korea claims it has detected a fresh round of multiple cruise missiles launched into the eastern part of Sea of Japan on Wednesday. U.S. and South Korean forces have been carrying out various types of military training. This includes air and sea drills involving American B-1B bombers and their first large-scale amphibious landing exercises. In recent weeks, North Korea has been ramping up its military tests, from firing an intercontinental ballistic missile to conducting a nuclear counterattack simulation, as it sees the U.S.-South Korea drill a rehearsal for invasion. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un recently called for an exponential increase in weapons production, including tactical nuclear weapons. Kim also ordered the North Korean military this month to intensify drills to prepare for a, quote, real war. If you're a Twitter user, well, be careful, because scammers are duping users on social media platform. Let's understand how cyber criminals are misusing Twitter and its new features. Many businesses have well-maintained Twitter pages to not just market their products, but also to address customer issues. Annoyed customers often turn to Twitter to share their grievances. This is where scammers come into play, to trick customers. For instance, if a customer posts a complaint with a bank and tags it in a tweet, scammers try to exploit this opportunity. They impersonate the account and reach out to customers as bank representatives. They share a number with the customer and ask them to make a call to share their complaint. If the customer makes that mistake of calling the number, scammers try to collect all the login credentials and essential information required to access the user's account. What's even worse, these bogus accounts come with a blue tick, as anyone can get their account verified these days by spending a few dollars. Hackers are misusing this feature to mislead people and fraud them. Twitter's blue tick service, which was earlier reserved for active, notable, and authentic accounts of public interest, has now opened doors to criminals. And it's just not about one social media platform. Other social media platforms are also full of scammers and hackers as well. Therefore, we advise you to address such sensitive issues directly with the bank. In a relief for Microsoft over the mammoth $69 billion deal with Activision, the U.S. IT firm has won the dismissal of a private consumer antitrust lawsuit over its proposed purchase of Call of Duty maker Activision Blizzard. Last December, Call of Duty gamers sued Microsoft, seeking to block its merger with Activision, partly because they alleged that the merger would set up Microsoft to dominate industry rivals, drive up prices, and reduce consumer choice. Yesterday, a California judge granted Microsoft's motion to dismiss the suit, saying that the gamers didn't, quote, plausibly allege that the merger creates a reasonable probability of anti-competitive effects in any relevant market. However, the report adds that the plaintiffs were given 20 days to redefine their legal challenge. Supporting Microsoft, a federal judge in San Francisco ruled that the lawsuit from a group of video game plaintiffs lacks allegations. It supported the claim that the proposed acquisition would harm market competition. The decision does not affect the U.S. Federal Trade Commission, FTC, regulatory challenges to the largest ever gaming industry deal. Microsoft announced its bid last year, and it also faces competition scrutiny in the EU and the UK. Microsoft has denied the deal would harm video game competition. U.S. antitrust law allows private consumers to challenge mergers and acquisition apart from government actions. An evidentiary hearing before the FTC is scheduled in early August. Nike posted a strong set of numbers in the third quarter thanks to stellar demands for its sneaker portfolio. But its biggest competitor, Adidas, is expected to post a weak set of numbers because, well, of its sneakers. What sets these two brands apart when their inventory strategy is almost the same? Well, take a look.
Nike outsprint its rival Adidas when it posted its Q3 results recently. Nike's revenue came in at $12 billion versus street expectations around $11 billion. The company said it continued to see strong demand for its sneakers, led by its Jordan and LeBron 20 range. Nike benefited from higher income consumers who in recent years have turned their lifestyle purchases into an alternative asset class. Some of Nike's sneakers are the most widely collected footwear in the world and helped collectors spearhead the sneakerhead movement. Adidas, Nike's biggest rival, fueled the movement with its own brand and artist collaborations, the most iconic one with Kanye West, who now goes by the name Ye. Adidas, in collaboration with American rapper Kanye West, created the highly popular Adidas Yeezy line, and those sales accounted for 15% of the European shoemaker's revenue. But after severing ties with the rapper in 2022, Adidas is expected to post an operating loss of $740 million. That's a big hole in the sportswear brand's bottom line, especially at a time when apparel makers are struggling with shrinking margins due to currency movements and higher manufacturing costs. Analysts expect that Nike may just extend its lead over Adidas's market share with its innovation in design and sales through its direct-to-consumer channels. But as a consumer, is this good for you or bad? When supply of collectibles go down, cost goes up. So that's not good news for someone just entering the sneaker collectibles race. But if you are a consumer looking to buy collectibles at steep discounts, Adidas's retail liquidation could be good news for you. Expect to grab Yeezys at throwaway prices and run with it. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Keeping our focus on dolphins in the U.S. state of New Jersey, a pod of dolphins have died in the Sea Isle city. All 8 dolphins that were stranded on a beach on Tuesday morning have died. The Marine Mammal Stranding Center said that 2 of the dolphins died immediately. The center also said the other 6 were assisted by a veterinarian, but their condition was rapidly deteriorating. All 8 dolphins have been taken to the New Jersey State Lab for necropsies. Here's more. Rescue workers tirelessly saved the pod of dolphins that were beached on the beach. Helped by concerned neighbors, first responders tried to keep the dolphins comfortable with damp sheets and buckets of ocean water until officials of the Marine Mammal Stranding Center arrived. '14 FIFA World Cup winner Mesut Ozil has announced his retirement from professional football at the age of 34. The former Arsenal and Real Madrid playmaker has been playing his trade in the Turkish Super League for over 2 years now, but injury problems restricted his playing time. Having started his career in the German Bundesliga, Ozil became a household name after a stellar 2010 World Cup champion. Soon, Real Madrid came calling, and he joined their star-studded squad under the management of Jose Mourinho. He helped Madrid to the La Liga title in 2011-12 season and was the division's leading assist maker across all 3 seasons while he played there. The next stop for the silky German was English Premier League side Arsenal. He became a club icon after helping them 3 FA Cups, though things eventually turned sour. His contract was terminated in 2021, after which he joined the Turkish league. He first represented Fenerbahce before joining Istanbul Basak Sahir. On the international front, Ozil earned 92 caps for the German national team and played a huge part in them winning the 2014 World Cup. But he retired from international football in 2018 following a row with the German FA and media criticism over his Turkish heritage after he posed alongside Turkey President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in a photograph. U.S. President Joe Biden welcomed a collection of singers, authors, and artists and humanitarians to the White House to present them with medals. Bruce Springsteen, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Mindy Kaling, and Gladys Knight were among the 22 people and organizations being honored. Interestingly, Biden made an observation when conferring the National Medal of Arts on rocker Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce, some people are just born to run, man.
When Biden also introduced author Colson Whitehead to the crowd, he noted that Whitehead had won back-to-back Pulitzer Prizes for his book and gave the hint of his own ambitions. Meanwhile, Mindy Kaling, a main character on the long-running television show The Office, set in Biden's hometown of Scranton, Pennsylvania, received a medal as well. According to the National Endowment for the Arts, the National Medal of Arts is the highest award given to artists and art patrons by the United States government.
Because of the power of the arts and humanities.
That's all from us here in New York City. I'm Susan Tehrani. I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Meanwhile, don't go away. A lot more news and headlines are coming up next on this very busy news day on WION World is One.
There are many other
Gravitas tells you stories which others won't. And tonight we will tell you about this new strategic map that is being drawn.
They say your enemy's enemy is your friend. Is that the foundation of the new defense bridge between India and America?
This is what separates us from others who claim to be telling you global stories.